Hey guys, it's me, Kuya the Ghost, video game connoisseur and cute anime girl lover. I won't lie, I play a lot of video games. That's likely because games are how I enjoy spending my free time. I just don't care about TV shows, sports, movies, or really any other form of media besides gaming. That said, I'm left with plenty of opinions when it comes to the industry. From one-man dev teams selling millions of meme games to AAA studios pumping out flop after flop after flop. There's a lot to talk about. These days, whenever an indie game catches my eye on Steam, I don't ask, does this game look good? I ask, who made it? Because eventually, every great developer reaches a point where you stop buying their games based on trailers, genres, or flashy visuals, and start buying them based on trust. With an epidemic of abandoned early access projects, buggy cash grabs, and simply unfinished games flooding Steam every week, there's a lot to consider before actually making a purchase. But that usually boils down to one simple question. Can you trust the developer? Now let me introduce you to Pico Games. That's why today I want to walk through every game they've released so far and explain why I think they've quietly become one of the most underrated indie devs. Keep in mind, this is not hashtag ad. These are just my personal opinions and recommendations as a genuine indie game lover. Now let's get started. The first entry is Witch Explorer. This is where it all began. At first glance, Witch Explorer looks like a cute fantasy game starring an energetic young witch. It's got everything it needs to snag a bit of instant attention. Bright colors, cute anime artwork, and subtle Yuri undertones, and adorable monster designs. The story revolves around the main protagonist, Tia, who fell into debt and was forced to sell off her belongings, which even included parts of her magic shop. Now with the help of Doll, a sentient puppet and her precious friend, she aims to venture into the Cave of No Return in search of rare treasures and artifacts to make money and regain control of her shop. Everything about its presentation tells you it's going to be a simple, lighthearted tower defense adventure, not too different from other games in the genre. Then you actually play it. Instead of just copying the standard tower defense formula, Pico blended bullet hell and tower defense gameplay into something that feels like it really shouldn't work, but somehow does. You're constantly balancing offense, positioning, tower upgrades, and resource management while simultaneously fighting off waves of enemies and dodging bullets. The boss encounters are easily one of my favorite parts of the game. At first, it feels like you have no shot of draining their massive HP pools, but slowly whittling them down while dodging their attacks before they reach the end of the track is surprisingly satisfying. The whole game is as hectic as it is creative. Trying to perfect every stage is genuinely challenging, yet getting hit and failing never feels cheap or unfair. That's a balance even the most experienced of AAA studios struggle to achieve. For a studio's very first game, that's incredibly impressive, and it immediately established something that would become a reoccurring pattern for them. Next up is something completely different, Doll Explorer. Instead of playing it safe and making Witch Explorer 2, Pico threw the entire formula away. The only thing they kept were the characters, the art direction, and the studio's unmistakable personality. Doll Explorer slows the pace dramatically. The emphasis had shifted entirely towards tactical decision making. Every encounter asks you to think before you act, plan out your combos, and avoid traps while gathering as many resources as you can. The story leans into a similar fantasy adventure with the same characters from the previous entry. This time though, Tia meets Lilith, a demon princess who swaps bodies with her so that she can enter into a poison-filled dungeon mostly unharmed. Doll is, of course, immune to the poison as well, at least in small doses. And once again, the goal is to collect rare resources to earn money, while solving the mysteries surrounding Lilith and her missing sister. What surprised me most about this sequel wasn't even the gameplay, it was how invested I became in the characters. Despite being a relatively simple story, I genuinely wanted to know what happened to Lilith and her sister in the past, and how everyone's relationships would develop. I couldn't shake the feeling that Lilith was plotting something nefarious the entire time, too. The writing, artwork, and music are all excellent, and we'll even forgive that it's a bit furry coded sometimes. And just like with Witch Explorer, the gameplay is addictive and satisfying. It feels great when your plan comes together and genuinely stressful when everything's falling apart. The pressure you feel when the poison is creeping up behind you with a wall of tanky enemies blocking your way is real, especially when you're going for those perfect runs. Overall, Doll Explorer was an exciting sequel while completely abandoning the previous entry's gameplay mechanics. That seems like a huge risk, but it completely paid off in my opinion. Third on the list, and my personal favorite so far, we have Yuri Sword Saga.
Oh, the beat changed up.
They completely changed up genres and gameplay again. This time the focus became stylish bullet hell action. It feels like a side-scrolling Toho game, something like Azure Reflections, but mixed with the ability to destroy bullets with your sword attacks. It also has a focus on perfectly timed parries on enemies' melee attacks. What I appreciate most is that Pico understood this game needed a completely different rhythm than Doll Explorer. Yet, despite the gameplay overhaul, the studio's personality is still impossible to miss. They kept their unique visuals and adorable character designs, and even the wacky, sometimes downright bizarre storytelling. This story differs from the rest of their games, following a more traditional Japanese setting. To briefly describe the story, well, there was a shrine deep in the mountains that was dedicated to two legendary swords, Kuroyuri and Shiroyuri. Their power was enough to keep all the evil spirits and demons in the area from misbehaving simply by existing. Then one day, a lightning bolt struck the swords, destroying the shrine that held them and shattering their sheaths. Without the sheath, the sword's power faded, allowing demons and monsters to run amok. And then, awakened by the ensuing chaos, the swords transformed into the shapes of two girls, twin sisters, our protagonists. So, in order for a sword to recharge its power, it needs to be sheathed, meaning one character would take human form, while the other would remain a sword sheathed in her sister's body. Alright, I know that sounds a little lewd, but you see, she's sheathing the sword by stabbing it into her heart. And then she uses the sword in combat to chop bullets and such. Also, the swords are made from meteorites, so technically the protagonists are aliens. Anyway, this kind of game, character design, and writing really show off the studio's confidence. It's a sense of confidence that says, this is exactly the kind of game we wanted to make, and exactly the story we wanted to tell. Deal with it. The title itself tells you Pico isn't afraid to embrace niche anime culture, leaning into the Yuri aspect instead of sanding off those edges to appeal to a wider audience. For anyone who doesn't know, Yuri is a Japanese media genre focusing on romantic relationships between two female characters. Some people love it, others hate it, and some are much more strict with the definition too. I for one absolutely love Yuri content and bullet hells, so I'm certainly the target audience. Moving on. Yuri Sword Saga boasts some excellent bullet hell gameplay. I appreciate the ways they chose to keep the game interesting too. As you play, you can unlock different abilities that lend to different playstyles. During each mission, you'll accumulate spirit power by killing monsters, and you can use those points to upgrade your skill tree. It resets after each mission, so it's cool to experiment with different builds and find what's most fun for you. Once again, the boss battles are where the game really stands out. I absolutely adore the boss designs. This stuff is right up my alley. And I know not everyone will share my tastes, but if you're out there, this game is a treat. I love how hard mode skips the first part of the level, gives you a set number of spirit points, and then tosses you right into the boss fight with an added challenge. It's so fun learning the patterns and beating each level hitless. Again, the gameplay is super challenging and very fair. Perfect for any bullet hell worth mentioning. Last on the list is Abyss Kitchen, perhaps the biggest surprise of all. If someone pitched me a dungeon survival game where your primary role is simply cooking food on the backlines to feed an adventure party who handles most of the combat without you, I'd do whatever's the Steam equivalent of swiping right. Or left, whichever direction is the bad one. But because I've already become such a huge fan of Pico Games, they had my trust that their next game, no matter how goofy it sounded, would be worth buying. So for the first time ever, I purchased their game on day one before even a single review had been posted. That's normally something I'd only do for a bulletproof industry titan like From Software. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, whether or not to buy a new game can sometimes be answered by that simple question, can I trust the developer? For Pico Games, the answer has become a definite yes. Abyss Kitchen has the kind of premise that only works if the developer fully commits to it and has the talent to back it up. Thankfully, Pico seems to. The gameplay revolves around surviving dangerous environments while gathering ingredients, preparing meals, and supporting your companions. It's another completely different genre with another completely different gameplay loop. And yet, it feels unmistakably like a Pico Games title. Because underneath the mechanics, the studio's signature style clings to everything. The characters are familiar, the music, the monsters, and even the bullets have all been seen before. Some might criticize the reused assets, but as long as the game feels fresh and fun, I'm not complaining. This time, the story takes place around dungeon diving to restore a dying village. But instead of money and treasure, you're out there collecting ingredients to feed everyone. More food means more adventures, and more adventures means a better economy for the village. How wholesome. You can recruit a few guild members along the way to go adventuring with you. Each has a unique combat style and special abilities, while simultaneously increasing your party's total health pool. As you perform certain in-game tasks or prepare certain meals for them, you can earn affection, which opens up side stories and cute dialogue to read. Overall, this game is much more like the first two on the list, which is by no means a criticism. This is the only game listed that I haven't 100%ed yet, but I definitely plan to. It's another one that's grabbed my attention and drives me to get those perfect clears. This is the type of shit I live for. For me, no movie, TV show, sports match, or whatever else could ever compare to a niche indie game's story. This is the content I love to consume, and hopefully some like-minded individuals might discover their next favorite indie game thanks to my obscure recommendations. In conclusion, Pico Games is a studio to watch. They've certainly earned my trust, and I'd like to see them find more success. They definitely deserve it. I'll be buying whatever they make next, not because I know what kind of game it'll be, but because I know who's making it. And honestly, I can't think of a higher compliment than that. You can find a link to each of these games in the description. Once again, I'm not sponsored or anything like that. I don't know the dev. I'm just a humble fan. So if you happen to buy and play any of these, please leave a review and tell them Kuya the Ghost sent you. As always, let me know what you think down in the comments. Have I kindled your interest? Have you played any of these games before? Or maybe you know of a different underrated studio that you'd like me to check out. I'll be posting more videos like this in the future. Believe me, I have plenty of obscure games I want to tell you about. So please be sure to subscribe if you want to discover something new. Leave a like while you're here too. I could really use all the algorithm help I can get. I also stream games from time to time, so feel free to hang out and chat if you're bored. I'm a friendly ghost after all. Until next time. Ooh.